Justin's going to go first.
Special. What mushroom isn't measured by the pound, but by the ton and sold commercially in many states in Canada? It's a naturally grown fungus, prized as a French cuisine, yet many who live in or around nature rely on this mushroom to supplement their households. This mushroom I speak of is, of course, the great morel. Hunting these elusive delicacies is a recreational activity that can end in a great meal for everyone. I will tell you about this great natural food by describing what a morel mushroom is, where it is found, and how to cook and eat it. Identifying morels is the first step in enjoying them. They are a type of edible mushroom related to other cup fungi. They can be dark gray or yellow in color. They look like a honeycomb with a complex network of divots and ridges connecting them. A contrast from lookalikes, the morel is hollow, with its network around the outside. Carl Linnaeus, a Swedish botanist who is remembered as being the father of modern taxonomy and ecology, once described the look of the morel as being a phallus with the egg-shaped head. They are varied in color, they are also varied in size and shape. Many scientists who study the morel think there is as few as 6 species, but others believe it's closer to 50. They do agree on the large amount of variety within the phenotype, what their outside looks are within the species, but exactly how many species they are is still a debate. Although many can recognize the obvious signs of the morel, to make sure mycologists having trouble determining the species of the morel turn to technology to identify the specimen. The exact identity of the morel cannot escape the truth of DNA testing. 16 species have been separately identified, but to some the debate goes on as only 4 can be separated by looks. We may never know the true number of morel species. Now that you know what a morel looks like, you know where they grow. Morels grow very abundantly in areas affected recently within 1 to 3 years by a fire. Both commercial and migrant pickers make their living off of morels by following fires. Morels can grow in seemingly any place from undisturbed natural forest to these areas devastated by wildfire. They seem to thrive in many random places. They can be found down in sandy soil next to a stream or in the dirt right next to a busy road. They can even be found in your lawn or under trees or in the wide open in the middle of a meadow. Being a fungus, they do require a moist, somewhat cool place to grow. This seems to be the only limit in terms of where they grow. This means that places too dry, like the desert, or too hot, like the deep south, are places where they don't grow. Morels can be found in the same place year after year in small amounts. Or they may not be. It is my personal experience that for several years in a row, morels can be regularly found in the same area, but even in exactly the same spot. Then one year, for no obvious reason, there may be no morels in the area you normally have luck. This may be a natural cycle of the morel in terms of when it fruits, or that the fungus may have moved to a different area or even died. Usually the best spots are those that have partial shade during the day and places where the soil is moist. Near the shelter of a rotting log, in the dip of decaying leaves, or a place where a carcass has recently decayed are great places to look. The best way to find a morel is to go to a spot where you suspect the fungus might grow. Then, like with everything, you must sacrifice your time to find the elusive morel. The reason we want to know what they look like and where to grow isn't just to look at them, it's to pick and eat them. How you pick your morel and how you cook it is very important. Cutting the morel at the stem instead of tearing them out of the soil is very important. Using a sharp knife, the proper way to harvest the morel is to cut the stem low to the ground, but leaving some stem visible to you. Leaving the stem in the ground doesn't disturb the delicate underground portion of the fungus, allowing further fruiting that same season and in seasons in the future. Carrying the harvested morel in a mesh bag is important. Holes in your carrying bag is essential, but only if they are small enough to not allow the morels through, obviously. When the morel starts to dry out, it starts to release spores that allow future generations of the mushroom to grow. This drying probably already started before you pick the morel, so picking it just accelerates the process. This allows the morel to spread its spores everywhere you walk, which means more mushrooms for everyone in the future. Using a mesh bag also allows the morel to stay cool in the air, slowing the rotting process. If you're going to dry out your morels for storage, this is a very important step. Cooking the morels properly is important for the enjoyment from the taste of the morel, as well as your health from bugs and parasites that live in every wild mushroom. The first step of cooking morels is to clean them off and soak them in salt water. This drives most of the insects and worms out of the morels, seeking to escape the salt. Even though none of the bugs will harm you once it's cooked, it isn't pleasant to see dead bugs on next to your morel on your plate. Cooking your morels hot enough is important. Getting them to about boiling temperature will kill any nasty bug, parasite, or microbe that could possibly hurt you. Now the hardest part starts. Because there are so many different ways to include the morel in your meals, the hardest part is deciding what to do with them. My favorite is to saute them in garlic and butter and put them next to a steak. You can also put them in your favorite soup or stew to add some natural flavor. You can add them to your salad or even throw them on your mushroom Swiss burger. Including them in your spaghetti or lasagna is also a great choice. Now you can see why it's important to how to identify morel, where they're located, and how to cook them. Hunting for morels is both recreational and provisional. You and your whole family will have some searching for this French delicacy, as well as enjoy your meal afterwards.